With Bob Iger already making plans to step down from the Walt Disney Company by 2026 at some point, one thing is for certain is that we know that the Disney executives, the board of directors, a good chunk of them have been very unhappy about Bob Iger's decision making and his overall stance when it comes to the way he's running the show, his cost containment plan, his cost cutting measures, if you will, applied to all divisions over at the Walt Disney Company, really enhancing the ongoing Disney shakeup between Iger, the executives, the board of directors, etc., etc. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So, interestingly enough, we know that Disney right now is really trying to scramble to essentially repair the upcoming film slate for the remainder of the 2020s. Can you believe it? We're almost halfway through this decade already. Time just flies. But focusing on Iger, there's been a lot of drama going on with this guy, alright? I like to call him Bob Liger, because this man, all he does is lie. He likes to drag along the customer base and the shareholders into believing that things will improve in the following year, when it never even happens. Now, interestingly enough, on top of that, what's really revealing about all of this has a lot more to do with the ongoing drama happening between those like Ryan Reynolds, director Shawn Levy of Deadpool and Wolverine, going against the Disney heads and what Disney recently did behind the scenes, and how it really has a lot to do with the characters of She-Hulk, Captain Marvel, seemingly. Let's get into this. Now, we know that Ryan Reynolds is the one that really called the shots on this movie. He really stood his ground. He really took a stance against the Disney heads and say, it is our way or the highway if you want a good product. Now, shifting away from all of that, what's really interesting here is that with Lucasfilm, however, still considered the worst division at the Walt Disney Company above Marvel Studios, those like Ryan Reynolds and director Shawn Levy have been desperately trying to save the Marvel Universe under Marvel Studios. One significant development going on right now has more to do with the ongoing drama happening between both Ryan Reynolds and the Disney Company. It turns out, after multiple negotiations took place and many argumentative conversations that were happening between Reynolds and the Disney heads over what content would be provided on the Blu-ray and streaming edition of Deadpool and Wolverine, Disney decided to not allow over 70% of the deleted scenes from appearing on both versions for Deadpool and Wolverine. It turns out that Disney officially made their decision, and this comes from the top, with Bob Iger to not allow the Wolverine war scenes to be released on the Blu-ray version of the film, which included scenes of Wolverine fighting throughout World War I, II, and Vietnam. These scenes were described to be Hugh Jackman's best scenes that were going to serve as a recreation, if you will, of what was done in X-Men Origins Wolverine in a more violent manner. Now, Disney believed that the scenes were too violent and unnecessary to put on the Blu-ray in the form of deleted footage. In addition to that, Disney also is refusing to release the 2 extra scenes of Henry Cavill as the Wolverine in variant, of course, in that variant, where he was going to fight both Jackman's Logan and Deadpool in an extended sequence. Now, this pushback, as it turns out, comes from Bob Iger in the wake of Reynolds successfully previously negotiating with Disney to remove the She-Hulk and Captain Marvel scenes that were deleted from ever appearing on the Blu-ray and streaming edition. Now, this is seemingly some form of Disney getting back at Reynolds, since Ryan was promised that many of his scenes would make it to the version on disc and streaming beforehand. 70% of the deleted scenes are now officially not going to be included and will never see the light of day for Marvel fans. Some of these scenes also included other surprise cameos from the MCU. Now, to Bob Iger's way of justifying this also has to do with Disney not wanting to create a contrast of better content that was cut due to Bob Iger's cost containment strategy and altering the film in the midst of reshoots over the spring. So you guys may recall that over the spring, we're talking like right around early to mid-May, there were a lot of reshoots going on at last minute. You know, nothing truly significant. It wasn't like they were redoing 50% of the film, but roughly 20% of the movie was getting resurfaced, alright? They were redoing a lot of things. They were shifting things around to kind of really fix the pacing of the movie, and a lot of cameos were cut. alright? Replaced with more Fox cameos rather than MCU-related cameos. So, we know that there's a lot of things going on with that as well. The fact that Ryan was able to get things done his way, but Disney really had a lot of problems with the fact that they were really put into a corner, they were put into a box where they had to cave to Ryan and Shawn's demands to delete the footage that they had shot for She-Hulk and Captain Marvel by Brie Larson and Tatiana Maslany to never see the light of day in the actual theatrical version in theaters and on the Blu-ray edition. Now, this is where things begin to pick up and get a little bit more severe, is that this reportedly left both Ryan Reynolds and Shawn Levy furious, and there are debates going on right now on whether or not they want to stay on various projects focusing on the mutant era and the Avengers films. It even got to a point where Reynolds was left feeling betrayed by the Walt Disney Company, especially after making them well over, get this, $1.2 billion worldwide with this box office success. And let me just stop here again. The fact that you have Ryan and Shawn as the ones deeply responsible, and let's not forget about Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, the writers, they really made a product that was successful because it had nothing to do with the typical Disney agenda and the ideology. It was just all about entertainment, right? Giving the fans, the audience, a fun time to take a break from the real world and just enjoy themselves. That's all people want at the end of the day, right? So that's what they did, and they did it on a successful note, and here you have it. Walt Disney Company wants nothing to do with releasing those said scenes, catering to Hugh Jackman's best acting in the film, and additional scenes featuring Henry Cavill as his variant of the Wolverine. Now, there are said to be other factors related to this, and that is Iger was left in a frustrated position after essentially caving to not reveal the She-Hulk and Captain Marvel content on the Blu-ray and streaming version of the film. And the extended edition of Deadpool and Wolverine is also now no longer promised by Bob Iger, after telling Shawn Levy to deliver that to the audience that there were no plans to create an extended version, when in reality, there were plans behind the scenes to get this thing going. That is all now called off. Now, look, we know that this movie is definitely something that could set the MCU up on a different course. They could make more movies related to Deadpool and Wolverine. They could do more adventures between those two characters easily. 100% easy for them to do that, and to really just do something that would really cater to the fan base. Now, whether or not they're going to engage in that, who knows? There are conversations going on right now, but the fact that they are unwilling to release the footage that Ryan was so proud about, that he was so overly proud about, what he had filmed with Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick and Shawn Levy, those scenes featuring Hugh Jackman fighting throughout World War I, II, and Vietnam, really kind of doing what he wanted to do for years upon years, recreating that opening scene of X-Men Origins Wolverine, is now not going to ever see the light of day to Marvel fans, and that's disappointing. But overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about MCU drama and everything else happening with Disney, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.